Hi, I'm Matthew Cavalier, and welcome back to my channel, Moments with Matthew. Hello, my loves. I thought today that I would bring you behind the scenes as I film my podcast, and you can kind of see what goes into it. It's going to be a little bit of stop and go, but you're also going to just see how I record my podcast and how I go about putting it together, and you can kind of see as I put that podcast together. So I'm excited to show you, so here we go. I hope you're ready because we are about to record the intro for the podcast. And as I keep going, you'll just continue to see me recording. And so I'm going to try to not pretend that you're here, but I am glad that you're on this journey with me. And you'll be able to kind of watch as the podcast goes together so that when you listen to it, you can say, oh, I was there. I saw him recording it. So this is going to be fun for you and for me. So here we go. Hi, my loves, and welcome back to A Moment with Matthew podcast. Again, we are streaming on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. I'm happy to be able to bring you both of these platforms, and I am excited to continue to bring you my podcast. Today, I want to talk about ways that we sabotage love. And it's really important to remember that, again, when I talk love, I'm not just talking about the love of partners and the love of family. We can have love, friends, strangers, people we work with. Love is all encompassing, but a lot of the time that sabotage does come in our closest relationships. So let's get ready and talk today about how we sabotage love and how we can work to stop doing that. All right, so I've filmed that, or I've recorded that opening here. And now what I'm going to do is put that opening into the podcast generator, as well as that transition music that I do. So give me one moment and I'm going to show you how we do that. So I use the Anchor recording, and it is owned by Spotify. So it is very easy. I can just record clips and then place them into the episode generator. So I'm just going to take what I just recorded with you and add that to the episode for this week. I then come over here and I look at transitions. This 96 West and this Alley are the two transitions that I use. Luckily, because Anchor has created these, I get to use them. I don't have to worry about paying royalties or anything like that. It is part of utilizing this Anchor program. So I'm gonna add in here that little bit of transition music. You see it's 13 seconds long. So I've already created my intro, and now I've got this transition, and then we're gonna move into the bulk of the episode. So here we go. Okay, now it's time to go ahead and start with the bulk of the podcast. That is the good 15 minutes or so of recording of the information that I want to provide on this podcast episode. So I am set up and ready to record. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily that I can record all 15 minutes in one sitting. Sometimes I can because my mouth can just keep going, but sometimes I mess up. I don't do what I don't say what I want to say. I stumble over my words as I just did with you, and I want to go back and re-record. So I can do that. The other thing I can do is, if I mess up, I can download that clip from the Anchor site, and then I can go ahead and download it into my iMovie and just edit a little bit of the audio so that I can then place it back in there and pick up where I left off. I don't like to do that, but if I've gotten a big chunk of recording, let's say 10 minutes, I don't want to have to trash that 10 minutes, try to rethink of what I said just to kind of cut that end clip out. So there is some editing involved. And for me, that's a lot of fun because I do enjoy that editing process. I don't like to mess up, but if I do like knowing that I have that flexibility to fix it if I want to. So we're going to go and we're going to start with some of the bulk of the podcast. And that podcast episode is going to be about how we sabotage our love and our love for others. So here we go. As we've talked in other episodes, we know that it is nerve-wracking and can cause fear when we start to feel those emotions of love. And like I said, I don't like to necessarily limit love to only someone who we are romantically interested in or family. But again, this sabotage of love is really going to come from a lot of those aspects. And a lot of our sabotaging of love can come from some of the love that we have received through close family members as well, because it's how we learned to love and how we break those patterns of the love that family members gave us. We have to remember, though, when we look at those patterns that our family members gave us and we look at the patterns that we have developed in our own love, we have to remember to be offering of grace for ourselves as we move forward and try to break those patterns. It is really helpful to try to forgive, but if you can't forgive, it is good to try to remember that even though it may not have been the best, the people that have loved you were doing the 100% best that they could at that time. That doesn't mean they were doing what was best for you, but it does mean that they were giving their all at that moment. So we look at the things that we do to sabotage love. So I'll give you some ideas of what I did. I would find some of the dumbest reasons to reject people that I was starting to fall for, because the idea of intimacy and the idea of that connection and losing my freedom scared the shit out of me. And I didn't want to be tied down and lose what I saw as my freedom. Ironically, I also wanted to love someone. I also wanted someone to love me. So all of this time I was looking to keep my freedom, I was also looking to find a relationship and hoping that that person would let me be quote unquote free while they still loved me and put up with me and all of the things I wanted and desired from a relationship. So basically, I wanted to say, I love you. I want to be in this relationship with you. I want to make things work, but please just let me be free. Let me be independent. Let me do things that I want to do. Well, is that fair? No. But I went about trying to create those relationships as best I could and failing over and over again. Because even as I got people that kind of worked with me to do what I was asking of them, I would then find ways to go ahead and sabotage it. I would find things as easily as, oh, they have crooked teeth. I don't know that I can be with them. Oh, they like me back. There must be something wrong with them. Oh, they want to spend a lot of time with me. That's a red flag right there. I had it in my head that if you liked me, if you wanted to date me, clearly there was something wrong with you and I couldn't be with you. So I had my own self-sabotage and I had my own self-loathing so deep within me that I was willing to sabotage a relationship because I didn't like myself well enough, because I just assumed, if you like me, there must be something wrong with you. So clearly we are not going to work out. Don't worry. I know you're saying to yourself right now, Matthew, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I would agree with you. It was a terrible thing for me to do. And it was something that I had to work through in therapy and discover my own self-confidence, my own self-worth, and my own self-love to stop my incessant sabotaging. But I want you to ponder for a moment, and I want you to think for yourself for a moment, what do you do to sabotage? Now, I know that some of us are getting to a point where we're a lot more enlightened about love. I feel so much more enlightened about love. But I also know that I still throw up those roadblocks to self-sabotage. So ask yourself, what has been your pattern in the past? You may not think to yourself that it was self-sabotage. You may think to yourself, well, I'm just being particular. I'm being picky. I don't want to settle. I want to go for the best person that is for me. All of those things are great. All of those things are great if you aren't sabotaging it with a wonderful person who already fits exactly what you're looking for. I wouldn't even give someone the chance to show me that they were the person that I was looking for because I was already throwing up my own red flags. One of the things I had to start doing was recognizing my self-sabotage, my red flags, and the things that made me say, oh yeah, no, this isn't the person for me. And I didn't like what I was seeing. So for the longest time, I didn't want to hold that mirror up to myself. I didn't want to reflect about why I was doing this, why I wasn't giving someone the chance. So what I started to do was really take a hard look. Now, did I throw off people who were worth getting to know and taking the time out for? Absolutely. Did I chase after people who rejected me or kept me at arm's length because I felt like, oh yeah, that's totally it. Yep, that means they really care about me. I used to think to myself, oh, this person is nice. I'm enjoying my time with them, but I don't feel those butterflies. I don't feel those fireworks when I am around them. Sure, they're nice to kiss, they're nice to be undressed with, but I'm not feeling that special spark. You know where I did feel the special spark? Where I did feel those butterflies? Where I did feel those fireworks? In the people I couldn't be sure about. In the ones that kept me guessing. In the ones that I was never really sure how they felt about me. And I tell you what, it was a perfect storm for me because the more they pushed me off, the longer it took them to respond to texts and calls, the more they kept me guessing, the more hooked I was. And those good guys, those guys that I felt like, where's the fireworks? The ones that I really had a great time with, where I really felt myself laughing and smiling more and enjoying the time with them, those are the ones that I cut free. Those are the ones that I self-sabotaged because I thought, oh wait, I need the spark. I need the flame. I need those nervous butterflies. But as I really started to reflect and do more time with my therapy and do more time in my journaling, I started to realize, this is not how I want it to be. If the butterflies and the fireworks are because this person can't commit, or because this person doesn't really know how they feel about me, or because this person is pushing me off or dating 2 or 3 other people, why do I want to put up with that? That is what I really had to embrace. That is what I really had to figure out. And that has not been an easy journey for me. I would say that it's in this last relationship that I really started to say to myself, okay, you really have to understand why this is happening. Why would you think, okay, this isn't going to work out? and then I would make a list. Well, those aren't real reasons, because the list you've made doesn't really necessarily have to happen. These are just what ifs. The list you have of why I want to be with this person, those are concrete. Those are amazing. This person is spending time with me. This person is making me a priority. This person openly communicates with me, openly shares their feelings and emotions with me, allows me to share my feelings and emotions with me without judgment, without anger, and without gaslighting me into thinking that I am doing something wrong, that I have done something wrong. Do you know how beautiful that is? Because I'll tell you what, as I have gotten to know my boyfriend, it has become clear to me that those butterflies and fireworks are coming back, but they are here this time because I truly enjoy what we are discovering together, not because I am unsure of where I stand, not because he keeps me at arm's length. In fact, he is constantly smothering me with love and attention, and I am finding the freedom in that, and I am finding the independence in that. I am finding ways that we can be together, but I can still be my solid self with him and for myself. And that has become so important in my life. That has made the difference for me in wanting to make this relationship work. This is one of the longest ongoing relationships that I have had in the past 10 years. We are approaching a year in the next month or two, and that has become something that I'm looking forward to. Whereas before, when that year was approaching, I'm like, ooh, how have we gotten this far? Ooh, and I would start to get scared. I'm not scared this time. I'm excited for a year. I'm excited for 2 years because I have made a point of listing and chronicling and knowing what I want from a relationship, and I am not going to rest until I get it, and he is offering that to me. And in the opposite, not really the opposite, but in tandem with what I want, I know what he wants, and I want to give it to him as well. So that becomes important for both of us. Communication, love, openness, allowing someone to be who they are and loving them for that and not trying to change them becomes the goal of a truly loving and open relationship. I'm not self-sabotaging, though I will say I do sometimes have those thoughts where I worry and I start to get nervous and that fear starts to creep in, but I then start to recognize it. Whoa, this is an old pattern. What is causing it? What is making this happen? And I will say that a lot of it comes back to one, the person I've talked about in past episodes who was the expert gaslighter, the emotional abuser, but it also comes back to our model of the biggest relationship we have in our lives, and that is our parents. This is not a negative about my parents. I love them. They did the absolute best that they can, but they divorced when I was a freshman in high school, and seeing that love collapse, seeing that love shift and change, seeing that relationship fall apart, helped me understand in my 14-year-old mind that continued on almost to my 46-year-old mind that relationships don't last, that relationships can't work, that relationships are always going to let you down. And luckily, my boyfriend, Andrew, is proving to me that that is not true. Do relationships fall apart? Absolutely. I can look at my past history and know that that is the truth. But my onset of all relationships up until now have been, this isn't going to work. We'll spend some time together and then we'll move on. But what that made me was the people that I dated wanted to date me. I became the person who kept them at arm's length. I became the person who they were unsure of my feelings. I became the very person who gave me the butterflies and the nervous fireworks. I did that to other people. And as I reflect on that, I truly have to ask myself for that forgiveness, that I inflicted that nervousness, that anxiety, that tension on someone else. Because I was too afraid to break my patterns. I was too afraid to look at myself. And I was too afraid to say, yes, it may not work for my parents, but now that they are not together, they are in better places. They have lived their lives moving forward as better people. They have grown from this, and I have to grow from this as well. So I had to stop sabotaging myself. I had to stop blowing up these relationships. And it wasn't until almost 46 years old that I started to do that. It wasn't until this current relationship that I started to say to myself, you're going to keep churning through these people if you don't stop and figure out why this isn't working. It is easy to blame the other person. It makes us feel better if we have that other person to blame. Absolutely. I completely understand that. But we cannot continue to blame. We cannot continue to put all of the issues on the other person. My issue that I kept doing was, oh, you want too much from me. Oh, I can't handle that. Oh, I need my independence. And then as soon as the relationship ended and I had my independence, oh, I'm so lonely. Why can't I find anyone? Why isn't this working out for me? Well, hello, you did this to yourself. I was my own worst enemy. We often are in the cases of love. We are our own worst enemy. The other thing that I always find most intriguing is these online dating apps. I think they're wonderful. Do not get me wrong. I think it is a great way to meet people and start getting to know someone. But they do offer us a grass is always greener approach. Well, I really like this person. I'm enjoying getting to know them. But what if my true love is the next swipe away? What if my next true love is my next right swipe? We can constantly stay in that, ooh, the next one could be better than this one. The next one could be even better. I'm not saying to settle. What I'm saying is we often don't give people the chance to show us the love that they can bring and the love that we can cycle with them of giving and receiving. Even if it doesn't work out as a romantic interaction, you could make a phenomenal friend through this sharing of the love cycle that we have talked about in past episodes. So don't be afraid to know what you want and go after it, but to reflect, how am I getting in my own way? You have to be honest with yourself. You have to reflect. You cannot just continue to go unreflecting relationship after relationship after relationship and wonder, well, why is this failing? Well, let's find out. What am I doing? Journal on it. See a therapist. Reflect on what you do. Start to find your patterns. Reflect back on that first person you started dating. What happened there? Then the next person. What happened there? I'm not talking about your one night stand. am doing, I'm not noticing what my patterns are. So that becomes important. You have to know your patterns. You have to go forward and say to yourself, okay, I'm reflecting on this. Now, what can I do differently? You may go through a few other dates until you start to say, oh, now I recognize it. Let's fix it. Okay? That becomes important. If you aren't reflecting and doing what you need to do, you have to put the work in. Love takes work. I've said it before, love is not complicated, but it does take work. You have to be open and honest with yourself. My loves, I have enjoyed bringing this to you, but I do want you to understand that we have to figure out why love isn't working for us. We can give our family all the love. We can give our friends all the love. We can even be loving to strangers and to coworkers, other people that we meet, but we may not be able to find the love, the romantic love we are looking for. And a lot of the times it is because we have so many patterns locked in our head that we don't know about, that we continue to reinforce. And I don't want you to continue doing that anymore. My loves, I want the best for you. And if you are looking for that loving relationship, I want you to be able to find it and not reject it out of hand because of old patterns and old fears. So you continue to work, I'll continue to work, and we will come through this together, finding the love and commitment that we love and deserve and need. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you are sharing. Please do go on your podcast player of choice. Right now, like I said, we are on Anchor, we are on Spotify, and we are on Apple Podcasts. I will continue to explore other podcast venues that I can bring the links to. If you know of any, please do leave some in the comments on my social media or on this podcast. Please rate and review. Those do help spread the message. If you know someone, send this podcast episode to them. I would love to have you there. And I would love to bring in more people who need the message. I think that is wonderful. If you didn't like the show, don't worry about rating it. You can ignore that part. I'm looking forward to bringing you next week's episode as well. I will see you in another week, my loves, on the next Moment with Matthew podcast. Sorry about the little break in the middle there. You did miss a little bit only because someone was calling me in the middle. I'm so sorry, but I did pick up as quickly as I could for you. Thank you for joining me. Please do click the like button and do click the subscribe and the bell so you know when the next Moment with Matthew video comes out. Share this with someone who might like to see how the podcast is made, or maybe I made some good points for you and you can share that with someone you know and love. I'm looking forward to seeing you on our next Moment with Matthew.